All right, everybody, we are live with the Combatcast. It's the man they call Dave and Chevy, and we're going to talk about UFC 313 from this weekend, Fight Night, Vettori versus Dolidze, and but before we get started, let's talk about the sponsor.
Yes, this episode of the Combatcast is brought to you by Game Up. So they make a thirst-quenching adult beverage with a special blend of electrolytes. Comes in 4 great flavors: fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape.
That's right, guys. Low carb, only 110 calories. Get yourself some Game Up. And what's coming up after this week?
March 22nd, UFC Fight Night, Edwards versus Brady. That's a 3 p.m. Eastern card from the O2 Arena in London. We love all the London cards. Great crowd, early time, usually stacked fights. So looking forward to that one. And then March 29th, UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Urseg from Mexico. It's a 7 p.m. Eastern card. Moreno, the hometown guy, showing out in Mexico. And then April 5th, UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Murphy, 9 p.m. Apex. But that's a very good matchup.
Yeah, someone might be going down on that one. So.
Yeah, this could be like a real coming out party for Murphy as well. I mean, he has good wins, but Josh Emmett is a contender. So.
Oh yeah, Josh has got the wrestling ability and that brutal knockout power, as we've seen before. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about what's going on around the ring, and not a lot to talk about, but I think one thing very big to talk about first is Dana White getting involved in the boxing business. It's official.
Yeah, he's joining with the Saudis, Turkey. He's been making all these great boxing matches that we it's kind of brought boxing back along with the YouTube thing, but actually seeing the fights we want to see. So now the UFC's getting involved with that. Dana talked about that Zuffa boxing thing that didn't really pan out, but now they're into it. So he has stated like the UFC guys are not going to be involved. This is legit, like just boxing. We'll see what happens. He says a lot of things, but he's a promoter. So,
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't rule anything out, but I would say it's not going to be regular.
Yeah, we'll see. But interesting. They're talking about kind of bringing boxing to that UFC model, basically a monopoly, getting rid of like all the just having the one thing. Which is terrible for the fighters if they want to make money because they don't have anywhere else to go, but great for the fans because if you get the fights you want to see. So
yeah, and I mean, I think right off the gate, one of the things he said. Now, again, what we're saying and what gets delivered, we'll have to wait and see. Right. Although Turkey has a lot of money and he's been spending a lot of money to make this happen, so wouldn't rule it out. But the model is they want a lot of undefeated prospects to be fighting each other, And of course, somebody brought up too, one of the tougher things about this is if you're fighting more elite competition and you're busier, then boxers. The other thing is your careers are probably going to get shorter too. And that's one thing about boxing is that, again, for the betterment of the fighter, but maybe not always the fan, is they've been able to position themselves where maybe you don't have to fight the most quality competition once you get to a certain point. You pick and choose, and then you eventually fight the elite of the elite, and you have to build to that, and maybe you do it once or twice a year. And so we'll see. I think it is exciting for the fans, though.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying, though, with the building up the boxers, what will be different is if the guys who are, the best are fighting the best earlier on, you're going to see less undefeated records deep into careers. Right. But that can change boxing because being undefeated isn't so much a thing in the UFC. Like if a guy has a loss, he's not tossed away and discarded. So like they are in boxing. So
right. That's a good thing.
That would be a good change. Yeah. Not necessarily. That's why people avoided those really hard fights, until the very end of their career, because if they lost, that's basically the end, which, in this situation, it wouldn't be going forward. So,
yeah. So I like that model. So we'll see. All right. One more thing around the ring. Let's talk about ESPN Plus. And man, a lot of people struggled being able to order this pay-per-view. You did not have this issue. I had some other means that night, but we had a friend who did. And what a mess. It really makes me think I hope they get out of ESPN Plus business soon.
Yeah, not good for ESPN for negotiating a new contract. That's for sure. So one more step in the direction of hopefully Netflix, probably Netflix with, WWE being on there. We've talked about it many times, but one less streaming service for me to pay for would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you could have WWE, you could have UFC, and we could even have like this boxing venture all on there right now, which would, TKO really be in the driver's seat in a lot of ways, especially with a vehicle like Netflix for all that too.
What I don't want to happen though is like what the NFL does, where they have some games on Amazon Prime and they have some games on NBC and some games on USA or whatever, Fox and stuff. If that happens to UFC, I'm out. If I have to have like 10 streaming services to watch it, I'm out. Sorry, this podcast is done, Dave, or you're on your own. I can't do it anymore. I just refuse to be. This stuff's too expensive as it is. So
yeah, I agree. I could go down a rabbit hole about that recently. That's some toenail clippers I bought, but that's another point. When it costs $13 for this shit. Anyway, we'll see what happens. How that all ends up working out with the streaming deals. But yes, I hopefully Netflix would be the home for all of it. If it. Like you said, I think I could do at least 2 still if it has to be that way. I'd like to get down to 1, but you're right. If we start getting to like 4 or 5, like all right, whatever. We gotta. Some things are getting sacrificed at that.
Right. Well, this segue into this upcoming card is if I had to have a streaming service and the card I'm going to get on that one streaming service, this is why I wouldn't buy it. So let's get into that.
All right, we'll get into this card first then. Yeah. All right. Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze. I don't know.
Dolidze too.
Dolidze. Yeah. I did have it right. So, main event, co-main event. We're going to go over any other fights you want to talk about here.
Featured bout on the prelims: Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Ryan Spann. So Ryan Spann has fought at. I don't know if this is his first fight at heavyweight, but he's been fighting at light heavyweight as far as I've known. So very tough fight. Waldo, it's always talked about when he gets in the ring, or he used to be a baseball player and he threw 100 miles an hour. So that, translates to punching power, which he definitely has. But Ryan also has it. Will it translate at heavyweight? We'll find out, I guess. So I'll pick Ryan, though. It's very dangerous. I'm excited to see him up there. But
I say heavyweight, yeah. Athletic.
Yep. But all right, co-main event.
This names.
Yep. Chidi Njokuani versus Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos.
All right. Chidi is 24, 10-1, 14 KOs, 1 sub, 9 decisions. He's had Fight of the Night once. He's 4-3 in the UFC. He's coming off 2 in a row. And Dos Santos, he's 25, 8-1, 15 KOs, 3 subs, 7 decisions. Fight of the Night 3 times, 11-4 overall in the UFC. I'm going to go with Dos Santos here. I'll say decision.
Yeah, a couple of older lads just trying to KO each other out there.
I think they will, but
yeah,
I think it's finished.
Should be a fun kickboxing match. Very tough fight to call. Both guys similar skill level, I think. But I'll go with Elizeu. I'll say KO in round 1. They just get after it right away. All right. Moving on. Main event: Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze 2.
All right. 14-3 is Roman. 8 KOs, 3 subs, 3 decisions. 8-3 in the UFC. Performance of the night 3 times. Marvin Vettori, 19-7-1, 2 KOs, 9 subs, 8 decisions. 9-5-1 in the UFC. And he's had Fight of the Night twice and Performance of the Night twice. I usually like Marvin when he's not fighting the top 3 or 4 middleweights. He is been in a lot of brawls and a lot of fights over the years now, so I don't know if we're at that point yet, but I'll take Marvin by decision.
Marvin did get the decision last time they fought, but he's been out for 2 years. So he fought Dolidze and he had a fight after that in 2023. But then he's been out, I think, with an injury since then. So Roman's gotten 2 wins in that time. So I think I'm going to pick Roman by decision this time. A little bit of ring rust plus, Roman's on a streak. So,
all right. Well, let's get to this past weekend's card then. UFC 313. And before we talk about the main card, any fights you want to talk about on the prelims or anything else?
Yeah, I mean, the judging, the first fight off of the main card or of the prelims, first fight, I can't remember the guys' names. I didn't put it in my notes, but one guy made his debut and got a decision win. It was an absolute atrocity that he got this. One of the worst decisions, if not the worst decision I've ever seen. Absolutely a robbery. I think the commentary team even called it out, like actually called it a robbery on the broadcast. So bummer for that guy who got half a paycheck and a loss on his record. But I guess good for the debutant who got a sketchy win. But bad judging. I mean, we'll talk about judging later on with the main event, I'm sure. But on a prelim fight that got canceled, I was excited about. There were a couple fights canceled. The one I cared about, Curtis Blades had an illness. I guess there was some illness going around the PI. He got hit with it, so wasn't able to fight. So bummer for Curtis Blades, or blessing in disguise that he doesn't have to fight some unranked Russian guy. That does nothing for his career. So maybe good illness for him. But let's get into this main card. All right. King Green versus, which he needs to change his name back to Bobby. King Green versus Mauricio Rufy.
All right. Not much to talk about here other than a crazy highlight reel kick to the head. Happened very early. It was early in the first round too, right? I'm trying to remember now.
Like 2 minutes in.
Yeah, so I mean, tough break for King. Love that guy, but Rufy and the Fighting Nerds continue just to build momentum here. And I want to say Rufy had a call out afterwards of maybe Dariush. He's hoping to maybe jump up far in the rankings there. I think
did he? That's a good fight.
That would be a great fight. I had Benoit Saint Denis. I thought would be a great fight too, and maybe that could be next. I think he's a little further back than Dariush, so I thought maybe that's a little more realistic of a fight, and I think that would be interesting to see. A lot of fireworks there.
Yeah, either of those would be really.
Oh cool,
yeah. Poor King Green, since he changed his name from Bobby to King, has been viciously submitted by Paddy Pimblett. And then he just got spinning wheel kick, face down, knocked out by Rufy. So bummer for him. He's getting older, but he is just fighting tougher guys also. So as far as Rufy, Fight Nerds guy, fucking love it. I made this comparison, and this isn't my comparison. I read this somewhere else, but the Conor McGregor thing, his movement, his movement is exactly like Conor's was back in the day. So even that wheel kick is like silhouette of Conor doing the wheel kick. So hopefully he doesn't end up like Conor, but the fighting style is uncanny. So shout out to Mauricio, looking great. Shout out to Fighting Nerds. They're really killing it. Let's move on. Amanda Lemos versus Yasmin Lucindo.
Yeah, this is a fight I didn't get to watch a lot of. I started to fall asleep at this point. East Coast time, guys. Sorry, it kills me. But Lemos got the win. I'll let you talk a little more about it. As far as the fight next, I was looking at people that she's won and lost, and she's fought so many tough people in this division. One name I noticed that she hadn't fought and is coming off a loss. I thought Tatiana Suarez. So I thought maybe just make that fight right now.
And that moves her up too. Yeah. That's a good fight. Yeah. as far as this fight, Lemos decision. Lemos had a power advantage on the feet and was able to just control Lucinda on the ground. Lucinda really, she was trying to rely on those submissions. I thought she should have stayed on the feet a little bit more. But she's still young, very young. In fact, I think she's like 20 years old. So she's a promising prospect. Hopefully this is a learning experience. Bummer for her, but Lemos, savvy vet, still getting it done. All right, Jalen Turner versus Ignacio Bahamondes.
Ignacio, triangle choke, first round. Jalen Turner actually talking about retiring after this, and I think someone might have tried to talk him out of it, so I don't think that's official. Or
Bahamondes tried to talk him out of it.
He tried. Okay. I think there was someone in his corner too.
Yeah,
or someone, but so. Hopefully Jalen doesn't retire, but I can understand he's had a real up and down career, and I'm sure it gets frustrating at that level. Ignacio, though, impressive performance. Couple guys I like to see, again, kind of go with the Lemos, where there's certain guys that are above him that are coming off losses. One of them on this card, Rafael Fiziev, we'll talk about next. I thought, wow, that could be a fun fight.
That'd be really fun, yeah.
Yeah, and then the other guy I think is a fun fight, too, is Hinata Makana.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a couple of guys that are never in a boring fight, for sure, yeah. So I hope Jalen reconsiders retirement too. I think he is very talented. Maybe I don't know, maybe a change of camp or something. He said he had been thinking about it beforehand, and usually when you got that 1 foot out, you should just hop out. But I think Bahamondes is going to prove to be a real star in the lightweight division. The next. We have this giant wave of the Gaethjes and the Poiriers and them like going out, and the Chandlers, all these exciting fighters going out soon at lightweight. This could be the new core of guys. He can be a headliner there. So I don't think Jalen should be too hard on himself. So hopefully he'll reconsider, make some adjustments, whether that's a team switch or just coming back reinvigorated. As far as Ignacio, he's a real problem and a future star, and I'm looking forward to seeing him fight again.
All right.
I assume this was fight of the night. Yeah,
it was.
Justin Gaethje versus Rafael Fiziev.
All right, 2. Gaethje won a close one last time, and he wins another close one here. But now, fight of the night, and he is now tied for number 2 all time with Jim Miller, Donald Cerrone, and Charles Oliveira for 14 post-fight night bonuses, whether it's performance or fight of night. 14 fights, 14 bonuses. He's the highlight reel for a reason, as you said here last week. This is a guy, he's so exciting, and he's dialed in, and he's coming off that bad loss previously to Max Holloway, where he just decided to throw down at the last second. But I think Gaethje's one of those guys. He's still very much in it. He's ranked number 3. And when I look at potential opponents, I have to look at this to guys who are in front of him. If Islam Makhachev is going to end up fighting Ilya next, let's say, then I would say Arman Tsarukyan could be a good fight, especially since they didn't want to put him right back in the title picture. If you don't want to do that, then maybe give him the Charles Oliveira rematch and see if he can make anything happen. I think Charles or Arman is the way to go for him next.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter who you put him in there with. It's just Gaethje. It'll be a fun fight. It's impossible to have a boring fight against the guy. So, Gaethje, another close decision, but Fiziev came in on like 10 days notice or 12 days notice or something. So all the respect to him. He gave Justin all he could handle, but Justin fought really well. Leg kicks, that monster uppercut that he put him down with. He just looked really good. I agree. He's still got it. He's been in a lot of wars, but I think he takes care of himself well. He took that time off from after that Max Holloway fight, took off almost a whole year. So, I just think we need to, I've said this before, but just really appreciate these Justin Gaethje fights while we still have them. Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned before, 14 fights he's had in the UFC, 14 bonuses because he goes out there and puts it on the line. He's a wrestler by trade, and he's attempted about 2 takedowns ever. So he just likes to brawl and be exciting. I want to also point this out. You remember when they were fighting, right? And he's known to throw these leg kicks.
Yeah.
And especially from in very close, he'll throw the leg kick. So it's almost impossible to defend. But this fight, he threw a head kick when he was basically in the clinch. That's like just the flexibility. He's, I think he got a taste for that head kick after knocking out Poirier. But it was a great fight. Very, very good fight. Always exciting. So shout out to Justin Gaethje and Fizzy, both of them. All right, moving on. Main event. Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev.
All right, not the fight of the night, but so I guess the interesting thing is, Magomed Ankalaev, I thought fought a good fight. I thought he fought intelligently. I thought he did what he had to do to win. There are moments where he's clinching a lot, and it's not the most appealing or exciting. I guess the argument would be here is, what are you doing with that sometimes? Are you doing enough? Are you just tying your opponent up? And just because you happen to control the clinch, how much do we give you for that? That being said, Magomed Ankalaev was able to survive better than anyone, I think, the leg kicks of Alex Pereira. He definitely felt them still, but he returned the favor. As the fight went on, I felt like he was getting stronger at times. There might have been one point, maybe around 3 or 4, where I thought Pereira was maybe starting to push a little bit, But Magomed Ankalaev, I definitely felt like he's the better, well-rounded fighter. Obviously, that's been the case with a lot of cases with Alex Pereira, but he's found ways to win because he's got that champion mentality. So I don't know. I'll let you break it down a little more. As far as next fights, to me, it's 1 or 2 options. It's got to be Alex Pereira. He should be, given a rematch possibly because of all the title fights and the hype, and he's definitely probably the man to do that. If you don't want to go in that direction, or Alex wants to take time off, or whatever the case is, then the other guy that to me comes up is Jan Blachowicz, who basically fought to a draw with Magomed, and he had a close decision loss, and you're going to argue with Alex Pereira, so he would be the other guy to me.
Yeah, where's he been?
That's why I was thinking, because I'm looking at these rankings, and I'm like, I don't remember him fighting, but I'm like, dude, you're the guy. So
they froze him out or something. He's just disappeared. Yeah, he kicked Ankalaev's ass for 2 rounds, and then got 10-8'd in the 3rd round for the draws or whatever. So, I'm with you. I want to know where Jan is. I want to see him again. So, very tough matchup for Ankalaev, but. Yeah, a lot of people were upset by the decision on this. I didn't see that. I thought Ankalaev was going to get the decision. There was a lot of bad judging, but I didn't think that was it here. Yes, there is the argument that Ankalaev was clinching on the cage and not doing very much with it, which is warranted. He was clinching and he was throwing little punches or knee in the legs, which was not really doing much, and he failed all of his takedown attempts, but you don't get points for defending takedowns in the UFC. I think Ankalaev went 0 for 12, so respect to Pereira for the takedown defense, because I thought for sure he was going to end up on his back at some point in this fight, so respect him for that. Him and Glover been working on it for sure. And like you said, Pereira had good moments, but basically, he just allowed himself. I mean, first of all, he almost got KO'd at the end. I think it was the end of round 1. He got hit and, stumbled back into the cage and was hurt. But he basically just allowed himself to be backed up. He fought on his, going backwards, which was new for him. He's usually stalking his opponents, and Ankalaev was backing him up. And that's due to Ankalaev's, threat of the takedown, but also his striking was very effective too. So, and he ate a few of those legendary left hooks without going down. So I'm not happy that Ankalaev is the champion, but respect to him. So, maybe not necessarily the most exciting fighter, but he's not the most boring either.
He's not. No.
He is a striker. His personality is very dull. You can't chalk that up to not speaking English, because Pereira barely speaks English. All he says is chama, and he's very exciting. So I did see Ankalaev's Twitter popping off afterwards, talking shit to whatever contender basically said anything about the fight, which was in English, so I assume that's Ali and not Ankalaev anyway. So I don't like it. Doesn't seem like it's the guy. Seems like an act.
Yeah.
Seems like it's Ali. So I'm just another boring champion is, where I'm at with this sport currently is it's the lowest of the lows, but I'm a degenerate. I'm still in, but we're in a tough spot right now. We'll make it through, but there's a lot of boring champions right now.
I'm glad you said that because I did want to close the show one more time. Round the ring, I'll put it here. We did get a comment here today, and it's hard because we're early in the year, and it said Randy Oscar, top three favorite fights this year so far. I am not going to be able to come up with 3 of those right now, and that's why I was looking down for a minute while you were talking. So I'm trying to look back at some of these past pay-per-views even, and I'm trying to think. There's been some decent performances, but like when I think of fight of the night, like I'm like this Justin Gaethje Fiziev fight we just saw might have been one of the best fights I've seen early in the year so far. I'm looking at past fights like Merab and Umar got fight of the night one time, and I'm like, I don't know, that was necessarily the fight of the night. I mean, what was that night? But it was like, is that fight of the year?
More exciting than we thought it was going to be. So I think that elevated that.
Yeah. So do you have a fight that sticks out this year so far?
It's got to be the Gaethje Fiziev fight, which that is diminished as well because we were expecting Hooker in Gaethje.
Right.
Fiziev was great, especially on short notice. But we just know that Dan Hooker and Gaethje would have been an all-time fight for sure. So, we're just in a tough spot. The sport's in a tough spot right now. Not very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
The UFC doesn't seem to really care. They're putting out a lot of these subpar, in my opinion, subpar cards, yeah, with a 1 or 2 good fights on it, which is that boxing model, which is partially why boxing died.
Mm-hmm.
It has been resurrected, but UFC's whole thing was you get a whole card that was fantastic, or at least a main card, and that's not what we've been getting lately. So 1 or 2 good cards here and there, pay-per-views, but I mean this upcoming 314 in Miami, that's more of what I'm looking at. That one looks fantastic next month. But overall, very watered down sport right now.
I would agree. Now, why don't we tell people what we got coming up one more time?
All right. We're degenerates, and we'll be following all these watered down cards anyway. So March 22nd, UFC Fight Night, Edwards versus Brady, 3 p.m. That makes it a little bit easier when you don't have to stay up late to watch it. 3 p.m. from London. March 29th, UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Urseg. That's a fun fight. 7 p.m. Mexico. And then April 5th, UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Murphy, 9 p.m. Apex.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you, Game Up.
If you haven't tried Game Up, then you are missing out. Imagine your favorite seltzer and your favorite sports drink had a baby, but it's way better than that. Each can is 110 calories, low carb, 4.9 ABV. It's a nice light drink that is not light on flavor. Game Up comes in fruit punch, orange, lemon, lime, and grape. Pick it up at drinkgameup.com or at your nearest liquor store.